So in this video, we are going to see about the edges. So first, let us create this sphere. So if you want to go to these edges, we need to right click and we need to go to these edges. And now these are the edges. So now suppose if you double click this, now it will select entire loop of these edges here. And if you want to delete, you can delete the edges and same like vertex. So suppose in the previous video, I have explained like if you select this if you want to select this loop of this vertex, we need to shift double click. But for this, if you select these edges, we need to just double click so that it will select entire loop here. So first I will explain how to extrude the edges here. So what the thing is, we can extrude the edges when it is an like open faces. For example, see now if you want to extrude this edge here. So if I shift right click, there is an option called like extrude. So we can extrude this edge here, but it will not be the proper. So edges are mainly can be extruded when it is an open faces. For example, like if I create this plane, so if I select this plane and if I add the subdivisions to this, so let's say if I go to this and if I add the subdivisions. So now what the thing is, suppose if you want to extend any some of the polygons here, we can use this edge and we can select this edge and we can like extrude this edge here. So if you extrude now, see, it has been created one other polygon here. And also there is a shortcut to extrude these edges. So if you select this and if you hold shift and drag, then it will extrude the edge here. So if you shift left click and drag, so it will extrude in this way. So either you can like shift right click extrude and drag, or else directly you can use the shift left click and drag to extrude these edges here. And also we can use the Control E. Control E is also used to extrude the edges. So for edges, mostly we will use the shift and drag. And also this is very important when you are going to create the vehicles and the character modeling. So most of the time we will use these edges to extrude the polygons and we will create the different kind of shapes here in this way. So next we will see how to bridge the edges. So bridge is also one of the most important things. So bridge can be used to connect between the two objects here or two edges. For example, let's say if I duplicate this thing and now I want to rotate this. So just I will rotate. And also while rotating, you have to hold J so that it will snap 15 degrees of angle here. So normally if you are not holding J and if you rotate, it will rotate with the accurate value. Suppose in case if you want to snap the angles, we need to hold J and rotate so that it will snap this thing. Now what the thing is, I want to create the bridge between these two objects here. And also if you want to create the bridge between these two objects, this has to be considered as a single object. That means we need to combine these two objects, then only we can able to bridge between these two edges here. So in order to combine, just we need to select these two objects and just we need to go to mesh and there is an option like combine. So after combining these two objects, now we can able to bridge between these two objects here. So now what the thing is, so suppose if you select this edge and this edge, and now if you want to create the polygon between these two, so simple thing, just we need to select and just we need to shift right click and there is an option called bridge here. So if you select this bridge, now it has been created the polygon between these two. And also here it has been created some of the divisions. So if you don't want the divisions side, you are getting this window. So you can able to like decrease or increase the number of divisions when you create this bridge here. So let's say if I like give the value to like 3 or something, now it has been created the 3 segments. So we can select the faces, and if you want to extrude, you can extrude the faces in this way here. So this is very useful to connect between the two edges. So now, for example, suppose if you delete these faces, and now if you want to create the bridge between these two edges, we can do that. So we can select this edge and this, we can just shift right click. There is an option like bridge. So you can bridge this. And according to the requirement, you can increase and decrease the number of subdivisions here. And also if you want to create the edge between the selected edges here. So for example, if I take this cube, and now let's say I want to insert one edge exactly in the center of this two edges here. So what we can do is we can select these two edges and now shift right click. There is an option like connect component. Same, it is like an vertex. So previously I have explained about the vertex. So now when we select the two edges and if you create this, if you select this connect component, now it will create the edge between the two edges here. And also it has been created exactly in the center. So for example, if you select this one, and if you shift right click, and if you click on this connect component, now it has been created this thing. So we can able to divide the faces. So if you want to like extrude, or if you want to delete, you can delete this thing here. So next there is an option called like bevel. Bevel can be used to create the round corners. For example, see now, suppose if I want to convert this edge into like a round corner, so we can use this bevel option. So in order to use this bevel, we need to shift right click. There is an option called like bevel edge. So if you select this bevel edge, now defaultly you will get certain radius. So here we can use this fraction to increase and decrease the radius of this roundness. And also if you want to create more smoothness, then we can increase the number of segments so that it will convert into more round kind of thing. And suppose if you decrease to 0, then it will create the flat surface here. So it depends on your requirement, what kind of model you want to create. You can increase and decrease the number of segments, and also you can use this fraction so that we can increase the area of the bevel here. So if you want to make a multiple things, we can do that. Means like if you select these two, and if you want to convert into bevel, you can convert into bevel, and just we can increase the number of segments, and also we can use the fraction so that we can convert the round corners. So we can create the round corners for this cube. And also bevel can be used to divide the edges into like two equal distance here. For example, see, like if I create this cube, and if I want to create the edge between these two things, as I explained in the earlier, so just we can select these two edges, connect component. Now what the thing is, I want to divide these edges into like two edges with equal distance here. So we can use the bevel too. So if you select this edge, and if you use this bevel option, now see, it has been equally divided into like 4 segments, like 3 segments here. So according to your requirement, we can increase and decrease the number of segments. So see, so it is creating the equal gap in between the edges here. So we can use this fraction. So just we can convert in this way. And now we can select the alternate faces, and just we can use this extrude to make this kind of shape here. So bevel can be used to convert the corner edges into the round, and also we can create this kind of shapes here. And next there is an option like fill hole. For example, suppose if you select these faces, and if you, let's say if you have deleted this, now again if you want to fill this thing, we can select the edges here. So in order to select this border of this hole, so we can double click so that it will select this outline of this hole. And now if you want to create the polygon, and if you want to fill this, so we can shift right click. There is an option called like fill hole. So we can able to fill this again. But the thing is, when you go to this smooth mode, so by pressing 3, so here the shape is not perfect. So what the thing is, because there is no edges in between these two things here. So what the thing is, if you want to create a perfect shape, we need to maintain the flow of these edges. So we can like create an edge between these two vertex. So select these two vertex and shift right click, connect component. And also we can create the edge between these two, but directly we cannot create. So if you use this connect component, it will not create the edge, because there is one edge in between these two vertex here. So manually what we can do is we can use the multi-cut. So just like left click and left click, it will create the edge between, and just we need to press enter so that it will create the edge here. And now still, if you go to this like harder surface, still you can able to see the connected faces. What the thing is, when we create the face, the edges will be in the harder form here. So if you want to convert into smooth, simple, just we need to select the edges, and just we need to right click, like shift right click, go to this option called soften and soft edge, so that the edges will convert into soft here. So now if you press 3, so we can see perfect shape of this sphere here. So if you want to convert into harder edges, we can select these edges, and if you shift right click, there is an option like again harder edge. So we can select this. Now we can able to see the harder edges. So in case if you want to create this kind of model here, we can use this harder edges so that it will look some kind of cut shape here. And also if you want to separate the edges, so for example, if you select these edges, and if you want to separate this, we can shift right click. There is an option like detach component. So if you detach component, now all edges has been divided here. So see, complete entire face has been detached here. So we can disconnect the edges here by using this detach component. Shift right click, detach component. So there will be like 2 edges here. So same, it will work for the vertex too. So if you select this vertex and if you use the like detached component, so it will be converted into 4 vertex here. See this. And next there is an option called like crease tool. So suppose for example, let's say if I press 3, so the total entire cube is converting into like round kind of shape. For example, I don't want to convert one of the corner. I want to be maintain this sharper edges. So what we can do is we can select these 2 edges and we can use the option called like crease tool. So in order to enable this, we need to shift right click and we need to select this crease tool. After selecting the crease tool, if you middle mouse click and drag, so what the thing is, these 2 edges will be harder edges, means like it will be sharp. So for example, if I go to the smooth mode, still you can able to see these edges are very sharp. In case if you increase the like subdivisions, for example, if you smooth this object, so if you go to this mesh and if you click on this smooth here, so still we can able to see the sharper part of this here. We can able to see the sharper edges over this corner here. So the crease tool is used to convert the edges into like sharper edges so that you can able to create the different shape here. So if there is no like crease tool, so for example, if I select this and if I go to the smooth mode and if I add the mesh like mesh smooth, so this is a difference. So same cube, we have done same smoothing, but the thing is here we have used the crease tool. So we got this different shape and here we didn't use any crease tool. So everything is round. And next there is an option called offset edge loop tool. So what is this thing is, suppose if you want to create the 2 edges, one edge on the top, one edge on the bottom of this loop here. For example, if you select this loop, and if you want to create the edge on the top and bottom with equal distance, so we can use this offset edge tool. So in order to use that, we need to shift right click. There is an option called offset edge loop tool. And now what we need to do is we need to middle mouse click and drag so that it will create the edge on the top and bottom of the selected edge with equal distance. So see, now it has been created. Again, if you select this and again drag, so again it will create that edge between this thing. So we can able to create this nice shape by using this face option. So we can like extrude this into inside. So just if I extrude this into here, now we can able to see the nice shape here. So we can use this offset tool to create this nice shape here. And next there is an option called slide edge tool. So this is also useful. For example, see now suppose if I want to move this edge to this top side, but I don't want to change the shape of this object. For example, see now if you see this pivot point, this pivot point is in the straight direction. In case if I want to move this edge to this position, but without changing the shape of this, normally if you use this, see it is going to change the shape of the object. See it is been changed, it is going to change the shape of the object here. But what the thing is, I don't want to change the shape of the object, but still I want to move this edge to this top position. So we can use this slide tool. So if you shift right click, there is an option called like slide edge tool. So what the thing is, see if you middle mouse click and drag, so it is going to change the positions of the edge here, but it will not affect the shape of the object here. So suppose for example, if you create this cylinder and let's say if I increase the number of subdivisions, and now if I rotate this, so let's say I want to slide this entire loop towards this direction here. Until unless see if you go to this move tool, we can able to slide this without changing this like shape of the object, because as I explained in the previous class, if you double click on this move tool here, the axis orientation is like set it to like object here. Object is nothing but it is showing the local direction, so that we can able to move the edge properly without changing the shape. But for example, in some situations, we may freeze the values of this object. For example, see if I go to this modify and freeze transformations, what the thing is, it is going to change the directions of the pivot point. Even though if you are in this object mode, if you double click this, so the direction of this pivot point is not proper. So if you want to move this loop a little bit up or down, we cannot move this because see, it is going to change the shape here. At that time, it will be useful. So we can shift right click. There is an option like slide edge tool, and we can middle mouse click and drag so that we can able to slide the edge properly. So these are the main options in the edge mode. So in the next video, I will explain about the faces here.